Welcome to 30 Boring Facts About Georgia, a peaceful journey through the Peach State's hidden stories. Tonight, we explore a place where ancient swamps meet granite mountains, where history was written in languages both old and new, and where quiet firsts changed America forever. Let these Georgia facts guide you into restful sleep as we discover what makes this southeastern state truly remarkable. Our story begins with the land itself, long before cities rose and highways stretched across red clay soil. Georgia history reveals landscapes that existed for millennia, shaped by water, stone, and time. Hidden in the southeastern corner of Georgia lies the Okefenokee Swamp, the largest blackwater swamp in North America. This vast wetland spans over 400,000 acres, a watery wilderness where cypress trees rise from dark tannic waters. The name Okefenokee comes from the Hitchiti Native American language, meaning land of the trembling earth. Walk across certain parts of this swamp, and the ground literally shakes beneath your feet. The water here moves so slowly it appears almost still, stained dark brown by decaying vegetation, creating an ecosystem unlike any other in the United States. This natural wonder has existed for thousands of years, a testament to Georgia's diverse geography. When you think of Georgia lakes, you might picture peaceful waters, perfect for fishing or boating. But here's an interesting fact about Georgia that surprises many visitors. Nearly all of Georgia's lakes are man-made, created by damming rivers throughout the 20th century. Lake Lanier, Lake Oconee, Lake Sinclair, and countless others were carved from river valleys to provide hydroelectric power, flood control, and recreation. Beneath these calm surfaces lie ghost towns, old roads, and forgotten communities that were relocated when the waters rose. These artificial lakes transformed Georgia's landscape, turning a state with few natural lakes into one dotted with reservoirs that now feel as timeless as the mountains. Speaking of mountains, rising near Atlanta stands one of the most impressive geological formations in the world. Stone Mountain is the largest exposed piece of granite on Earth. A massive dome of rock that towers 825 feet above the surrounding landscape. This granite pluton formed hundreds of millions of years ago, deep beneath the Earth's surface, and was gradually revealed as softer rock eroded away over countless millennia. The mountain's surface is so vast, you can see it from miles away, a gray sentinel watching over Georgia. Its sheer size makes it one of those Georgia facts that sounds impossible until you stand before it. Long before European settlers arrived, this land belonged to indigenous peoples who left their mark in ways both visible and invisible. The Cherokee Nation, one of the most prominent tribes in Georgia, made a remarkable contribution to American history and education. In 1828, the first Native American language newspaper was founded right here in Georgia. The Cherokee Phoenix, printed in both Cherokee and English, represented an extraordinary achievement. Sequoyah had recently created the Cherokee syllabary, giving his people a written language for the first time. This newspaper shared news, laws, and stories, proving that Cherokee culture was sophisticated, literate, and deserving of respect. It remains one of the most significant Georgia history facts about indigenous contributions to American journalism. But not all stories from Georgia's indigenous past are written in ink. Some are whispered in warnings that have persisted for nearly 2 centuries. The city of Macon carries an unusual reputation among Georgia trivia enthusiasts. According to local legend, when settlers forced the Creek Nation from their ancestral lands, Creek elders placed a curse upon the site where Macon would be built. The curse declared that anyone who came to this place would never truly leave. Whether you believe in such things or not, Macon residents often joke about this legend, claiming people who moved to Macon always seemed to return, unable to shake the city from their hearts. It is one of those interesting facts about Georgia that blends history, folklore, and identity. Georgia's story as a colony began later than you might think. Among the original 13 colonies that would become the United States, Georgia was the youngest, founded in 1732. While Massachusetts and Virginia had been established for over a century, Georgia arrived as a latecomer with a unique purpose. James Oglethorpe founded the colony as a place for debtors and poor British citizens to start fresh, a social experiment in second chances. The colony also served as a buffer between British South Carolina and Spanish Florida. This late arrival means Georgia history includes fewer colonial-era buildings and stories than its northern neighbors, but its founding ideals of opportunity and redemption shaped its character from the beginning. As Georgia grew from colony to state, its government faced a peculiar problem of location. Before Atlanta became the capital we know today, Georgia moved its capital 5 times. The state's political heart shifted from Savannah to Augusta, then to Louisville, then to Milledgeville, and finally to Atlanta in 1868. Each move reflected changing populations, economic centers, and political pressures. Milledgeville served as capital for over 60 years, longer than any other city, leaving behind beautiful antebellum architecture and the old governor's mansion. These migrations across the state map represent one of the more unusual Georgia facts, showing a government literally following its people westward. Another surprising number defines Georgia's political geography. This state contains 159 counties, more than any other state except Texas. For a state that ranks 24th in land area, this creates an unusual density of county governments. Some of these counties are tiny, with populations barely reaching a few thousand residents. Why so many? During the 19th century, Georgia law required that citizens live within a day's horse ride of their county seat to conduct business and attend court. As the state grew, more counties were carved from existing ones to meet this standard. Today, this system creates a complex patchwork of local governments, each with its own courthouse, sheriff, and administration. It is one of those Georgia history facts that reveals how old practical concerns shaped modern government structure. Education has deep roots in Georgia soil, roots that stretch back to the earliest days of American independence. The University of Georgia, chartered in 1785, holds the distinction of being the first state university in America. While other colleges existed before it, they were private institutions. Georgia established the first public university supported by state government, setting a precedent for public higher education across the nation. Located in Athens, the university began classes in 1801 and has educated generations of Georgians. This commitment to public education represents an important chapter in Georgia Facts about American educational history. Georgia's pioneering spirit in education extended to women as well. In 1836, Wesleyan College in Macon became the first college in the world to grant degrees to women. While seminaries and academies for women existed, they typically awarded certificates rather than formal degrees. Wesleyan broke this barrier, recognizing that women deserved the same academic credentials as men. This revolutionary step in women's education makes Wesleyan College a landmark in both Georgia history and the broader story of gender equality in American education. Long before most states considered women's rights, Georgia was quietly leading the way. And in that same spirit of progress, Georgia became the first state to grant married women full property rights in 1866. Before this law, married women in most states could not own property in their own names. Everything belonged to their husbands by law. Georgia's decision to change this represented a radical shift in women's legal status, recognizing wives as independent legal persons rather than extensions of their husbands. This fact about Georgia often surprises people who assume such progress happened much later or in more northern states. Sometimes the most boring facts about Georgia reveal the most extraordinary truths about American social change. As we continue our peaceful journey through Georgia facts, we turn now to the forces that transformed both the state and the nation. Georgia history includes moments of invention, discovery, and social change that rippled far beyond its borders. Let these stories carry you deeper into relaxation as we explore the state's role in America's industrial and cultural evolution. Near Savannah in 1793, a young inventor named Eli Whitney changed agriculture forever. While tutoring on a Georgia plantation, Whitney observed how laboriously enslaved people separated cotton fibers from seeds by hand. This tedious process limited cotton production and profitability. Whitney designed and built the cotton gin, a mechanical device that could clean cotton 50 times faster than human hands. This Georgia fact carries profound historical weight. The cotton gin made cotton incredibly profitable, which tragically intensified slavery in the American South. One invention, created in Georgia, reshaped economics, politics, and human suffering across an entire region. It remains one of the most consequential moments in Georgia history and American history alike. Gold fever hit Georgia long before California became famous for it. In 1828, gold was discovered in Dahlonega, in the mountains of North Georgia, sparking America's first gold rush. Thousands of prospectors flooded into Cherokee territory, seeking fortune in Georgia's hills. This discovery had devastating consequences for the Cherokee Nation, accelerating pressures that led to their forced removal on the Trail of Tears. The Dahlonega gold rush was so significant that a branch of the United States Mint operated there from 1838 to 1861, turning Georgia gold into coins. Today, the dome of Georgia's state capitol is gilded with gold from Dahlonega mines, a visible reminder of this chapter in Georgia facts and indigenous displacement. Social progress in Georgia sometimes arrived quietly in courtrooms and voting booths rather than public squares. In 1943, Georgia became the first state to lower the voting age to 18, nearly 3 decades before the 26th Amendment made it federal law. The reasoning was simple and powerful. If 18-year-olds were old enough to be drafted and die in World War II, they were old enough to vote for the leaders who sent them to war. This Georgia history fact shows how wartime experiences can accelerate social change, giving young people political voice when their sacrifices demanded recognition. Georgia also pioneered legal concepts that now seem fundamental to American life. The state became the first to recognize privacy as a constitutional right, establishing precedents that influence privacy law across the nation. While the United States Constitution does not explicitly mention privacy, Georgia's legal tradition developed this concept through case law and state constitutional interpretation. This fact about Georgia resonates in our modern age of data collection and digital surveillance. The right to be left alone, to keep certain aspects of life private from government intrusion, has roots in Georgia's legal soil. No discussion of Georgia facts would be complete without mentioning Atlanta's role as headquarters for the civil rights movement. Atlanta was the birthplace of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., whose leadership transformed not just Georgia, but the entire nation. The city became a hub for civil rights organizing, home to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and countless meetings, marches, and moments of moral courage. King's childhood home, Ebenezer Baptist Church, and the King Center for Nonviolent Social Change stand in Atlanta as monuments to this struggle. Georgia history includes both the deep injustices of segregation and the powerful movements that dismantled it. Far from Atlanta's civil rights battlegrounds, in the small town of Warm Springs, another American leader found refuge and renewal. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt built his little White House in Warm Springs, seeking relief from polio in the area's naturally warm spring waters. FDR spent considerable time in Georgia during his presidency, finding comfort and therapeutic benefit in this peaceful retreat. He died there in 1945 while sitting for a portrait. Today, the little White House is preserved as a historic site, one of those interesting facts about Georgia that connects the state to pivotal moments in American presidential history. When people think of Georgia, they often picture peaches, but the real state crops tell a different story. Georgia leads the entire nation in peanut production, pecan harvesting, and blueberry cultivation. More peanuts come from Georgia than any other state, making peanut butter and boiled peanuts state staples. Georgia pecans grace tables across America, especially during holiday baking season, and Georgia blueberries have become interestingly important as demand for this nutritious fruit has grown. These Georgia facts about agriculture show how deeply farming still shapes the state's economy and identity, even as cities expand and industries diversify. Sometimes the most entertaining Georgia trivia involves laws that seem too strange to be real. In Gainesville, Georgia, which calls itself the poultry capital of the world, there is technically a law on the books making it illegal to eat fried chicken with a fork. The law was passed in 1961 as a publicity stunt to promote Gainesville's poultry industry, declaring that chicken must be eaten with hands to show proper respect. While the law is not actually enforced, it remains one of those quirky facts about Georgia that makes people smile and shake their heads. Even more bizarre, there is a Georgia law specifically prohibiting the tying of giraffes to telephone poles or street lamps. Yes, specifically giraffes. The origins of this law are murky. Some say it stems from circus regulations. Others claim it was simply a joke that made it into legal code. Regardless, it stands as one of the most peculiar entries in Georgia legal history, a reminder that law books sometimes capture the absurdities and humor of human society. These odd legal facts about Georgia provide delightful conversation starters and puzzle solvers alike. As we close this segment, consider how these transformations from the cotton gin to voting rights, from presidential retreats to peanut farms, from civil rights leadership to laws about fried chicken and giraffes, all form the complex tapestry of Georgia history. Each fact, whether profound or playful, tells us something about the people who built this state and the peculiar paths history sometimes takes. Welcome to the final segment of our relaxing journey through Georgia facts, where we explore the mysterious, the quirky, and the surprisingly modern. As your breathing slows and sleep approaches, let these last stories about Georgia wash over you like a gentle tide, carrying away the day's tensions. In the college town of Athens stands one of the most unusual property owners in America. The tree that owns itself is exactly what it sounds like. According to local legend, a professor loved this white oak tree so much that he deeded ownership of the tree and the land within 8 feet of its base to the tree itself. While the legal validity of this arrangement is questionable, since trees cannot technically own property, the people of Athens have honored this symbolic gesture for generations. The original tree fell in 1942, but a new tree grown from one of its acorns now stands in the same spot, still considered the owner of its own small plot of earth. This fact about Georgia speaks to something deeper about how communities create meaning through stories and symbols. In the swamps and woods of southern Georgia, hunters in 2004 made a discovery that seemed to step out of legend. They found Hogzilla, a massive wild hog that reportedly weighed over 1,000 pounds and measured 12 feet long. Photographs of the enormous beast went viral before viral was common word. Initial skepticism led to scientific investigation. While Hogzilla turned out to be somewhat smaller than first reported, around 800 pounds and 8 feet long, it was still a remarkably large wild pig. This Georgia history fact highlights the state's wild side, its untamed spaces where nature still produces creatures that blur the line between reality and myth. Perhaps no Georgia mystery captured imaginations quite like the Georgia Guidestones. Erected in 1980 in Elbert County, this granite monument stood nearly 20 feet tall, inscribed with 10 guidelines in 8 languages. The messages advocated for maintaining humanity under 500 million, guiding reproduction wisely, and other controversial suggestions. No one knew who commissioned the monument. A man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian arranged its construction, but his true identity remained unknown. Conspiracy theories swirled around the Guidestones for decades. Were they instructions for survivors of an apocalypse? A manifesto for global control? In July 2022, someone bombed the monument and authorities demolished the remains for safety. The Georgia Guidestones are gone now, but they remain one of the most intriguing facts about Georgia, a mystery never fully solved. Some Georgia landmarks achieve fame not through mystery, but through sheer unforgettable presence. The Big Chicken in Marietta stands 56 feet tall, a massive sheet metal chicken that has become one of Georgia's most recognizable roadside attractions. Built in 1963 as a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant, the structure survived decades, multiple owners, and even a renovation that preserved its quirky charm. Atlantans give directions using the Big Chicken as a reference point. It appears in movies and photographs, a beloved example of American roadside architecture. This Georgia fact might seem silly, but it represents how communities embrace their local oddities and turn them into sources of pride. Not far away in the small North Georgia town of Cleveland, a woman named Xavier Roberts created something that would become a global phenomenon. Cabbage Patch Kids dolls were invented here in 1978, originally called Little People. Roberts sold his handmade soft sculpture dolls at craft fairs before they exploded into one of the biggest toy crazes in American history. In the 1980s, parents rioted in stores to secure these adoption certificate-carrying dolls for their children. Today, Babyland General Hospital in Cleveland continues the tradition, where visitors can witness doll births and adopt their own Cabbage Patch Kid. This interesting fact about Georgia shows how sometimes the most unexpected places produce cultural phenomena that spread worldwide. Modern Georgia has also become synonymous with another global brand. Coca-Cola, the world's most recognizable soft drink, was invented in Atlanta in 1886 by pharmacist John Pemberton. He created the syrup as a patent medicine, mixing coca leaves, cola nuts, and other ingredients into a tonic he claimed could cure headaches and fatigue. When mixed with carbonated water, it became a refreshing beverage. Asa Candler bought the formula and built it into an empire. Today, the Coca-Cola Company headquarters in Atlanta welcomes millions of visitors to the World of Coca-Cola Museum. Few Georgia facts have touched as many lives worldwide as this one. The red and white logo is recognized in virtually every country on Earth, all originating from a small Atlanta pharmacy. Georgia's landscape has also become a star of the screen, hosting productions that shaped American popular culture. The Dukes of Hazzard, the classic television show about moonshine runners and their iconic orange Dodge Charger, filmed its first episodes in Georgia. Covington and other small Georgia towns provided the rural southern backdrop for the adventures of Bo and Luke Duke. Though later seasons moved production to California, Georgia gave the show its authentic southern atmosphere. This Georgia history fact connects the state to countless childhood memories and lazy afternoon television marathons. More recently, Georgia has become Hollywood's favorite filming location, The Walking Dead, the zombie apocalypse series that dominated television for years, filmed extensively in and around Senoia, Georgia. This small town transformed into the fictional communities of Woodbury and later Alexandria. Fans from around the world make pilgrimages to Senoia to walk the same streets their favorite characters fought to survive on. The economic impact of film production in Georgia has been enormous, making it one of the leading production locations in the world. This modern fact about Georgia shows how the state continues to evolve and adapt. Even blockbuster film franchises have found homes in Georgia. The Hunger Games series filmed key scenes at the Swan House in Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood. The elegant mansion served as President Snow's residence in the dystopian future. Fans of the films recognize the architecture immediately, and tours of the Swan House regularly mention this connection. These interesting facts about Georgia demonstrate how the state's diverse architecture, landscapes, and tax incentives have made it a destination for filmmakers seeking everything from post-apocalyptic ruins to elegant mansions. Finally, we returned where we began, to the land itself, and how people have cherished it for generations. Indian Springs State Park holds the distinction of being Georgia's oldest state park, established in 1825. The natural springs at this location were considered sacred by Creek Native Americans who believed the waters had healing properties. Even after forced removal of indigenous peoples, the springs continued to draw visitors seeking their therapeutic benefits. Today, the park offers camping, swimming, and trails through beautiful Georgia woodlands. This last fact about Georgia reminds us that preservation of natural spaces has deep roots in the state, that even 2 centuries ago, Georgians recognized the value of protecting special places for future generations. As our journey through 30 boring facts about Georgia comes to a close, we have traveled from ancient swamps to modern film sets, from the tree that owns itself to the world's most famous soft drink, from mysterious monuments to beloved roadside chickens. Each of these Georgia facts tells a small story that, when woven together, creates a portrait of a state that is Southern and modern, traditional and innovative, serious and wonderfully strange. This video is sponsored by BIROQ Consulting for BIROQ Studio. BIROQ Studio brings together creativity, simplicity, and intention. Whether through digital downloads, thoughtful gifts, or peaceful content, the mission remains the same: create things that feel useful, calming, and meaningful in a noisy world. Have a good night and rest well.